The Gilded Finch, 12 chairs, 8 bodies, 4 empty seats staring like bruises. I'm Maya, parked at the end in a plain black dress Mom Victoria calls funeral chic. Grant raises his glass like a host. Sloan smirks, whispers, "Still playing pretend, sis?" Dad, Charles, leans in. "Tonight, let's discuss your future." Hooked yet? Ever sit with your own family and feel like a ghost at your own wake? My pulse is a drum, my smile is glue. Then Mom drops it, soft, surgical. "Grow up or stop showing up." Ouch, right there in public. Another jab. Grant, "Real adults don't hide their lives. Tell me, if you were me, do you swallow it or stand up and burn the script? Drop your take in the comments. And subscribe, because what happens next will make you furious." The Gilded Finch is the kind of place where the chandeliers look like they're whispering secrets. 12 chairs, 8 people, 4 empty seats staring like bruises. I'm Maya, yes, the difficult one, parked at the far end in my plain black dress Mom calls funeral chic. She's Victoria, immaculate hair, cooler than the ice bucket. Dad is Charles, polished cufflinks, voice that can sign deals or end them. My brother Grant, born with a podium in his throat. My sister Sloan, smile like a blade. And me, I'm the ghost at my own family celebration. Grant taps his glass like he's emceeing a charity gala. 60 years, he beams, and the family's stronger than ever. Hooked yet? Because I can feel the storm. The server pours Bordeaux like blood into crystal, and everyone hums along to the script except me. Sloan leans in just close enough. "Still playing pretend, sis?" she whispers. I pretend not to hear. My hands are steady, but my pulse is sprinting. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been surrounded by your people and felt completely invisible? Mom slides her gaze down the table, a judgment in high heels. "Maya," she says sweetly, "how's your little project?" There it is, a little, the word that shrinks your spine. "It's going well," I say, keeping my tone level. Dad doesn't miss his opening. "At some point, you'll need to get serious about your future." Translation, stop being you. Start being the daughter we ordered. Grant chuckles like a late-night host. "Real adults don't hide their lives," he says, eyebrows raised. "They build something respectable." Respectable like his LinkedIn page. Sloan adds, "Maybe if you'd stop dodging questions, we'd stop assuming the worst." Hook line, "You ever get accused of secrecy just because no one listened when you told the truth?" I try again. "I build software for large organizations." True, just not the whole truth. "How large?" Mom tilts her head. "Like dental offices?" The table laughs. "Grow up or stop showing up," she murmurs, soft as a scalpel. It draws actual breath from my lungs. Grant lifts his glass. "To family, the ones who show up with the right values." He holds the toast in my direction like a dare. This is the part where a good daughter makes herself small. Except I'm so tired of folding. I set my glass down. "You want honesty? You've never wanted honesty. You've wanted compliance." Dad's jaw tightens. "We've been patient with your phase." Phase, like my life is a rash. Mom steps in. "This performative independence isn't cute at 34. Marriage, stability, a life people can respect." Sloan nods, already composing a caption in her head. Shock line incoming. "From now on," Mom says, voice calm as a cold front, "either you live like a responsible adult or..." She flicks her wrist. "We proceed as if we have 2 children." The sentence lands like a fist in a velvet glove. The room tilts. Plates, flowers, candles, all perfectly arranged around a daughter being erased. "You're disowning me," I say, somehow steady. "We're setting boundaries," Dad replies. "Corporate clean." Gran adds, "Natural consequences." "Sloan," she smiles. "Don't be dramatic. If you're hearing this and your chest is hot, yeah, that's rage. Go ahead and like this if you've ever been punished for being yourself. Comment what you would say if it were you. Because my mouth is saying nothing, but my heart, it's saying, remember this, remember the public humiliation, the performed virtue, the way your mother weaponized manners like a quiet grenade. I stand, chairs scrape, conversations hush. "You want a spectacle?" I whisper. "You just made one." Then Mom twists the last knife. When you walk out, Maya, do not come back. You're dead to us. The entire dining room hears it. The chandeliers stop whispering. My body goes cold, hot, cold. Dad nods, clinical. Grant purses his lips like he's solving me. Sloane smirks. Finally, she breathes like she's been waiting to bury me for years. Here's the hook. What's worse, losing your family or realizing they never knew you? Hold that thought. Share this with the one friend who would have squeezed your hand under the table. Because the next part, it's going to make you furious in the best way. I'm almost to the door when the air shifts. The host stand parts like a curtain, and a man in a navy suit moves through the room with the kind of calm you can't fake. Ms. Reed, he says, voice low, professional, your helicopter is ready. The gilded finch goes silent. Silverware freezes midair. The chandeliers start whispering again, but this time they're gossiping. Let's linger here because moments like this stretch. The family that just told me I'm dead to them is suddenly staring at the living proof that my life is not a phase, not a lie, not small. Dad blinks twice, recalibrating the math. Mom's lips part. Grant's glass clinks against his teeth. Sloane goes marble. No emotion, all calculation. Thank you, Daniel, I say to my security detail. Tell the pilot we'll depart in 10. I keep my voice conversational like I'm asking for more bread. Shock lines hit harder when you don't shout. The sommelier materializes, eyes bright. Ms. Reed, the hospital, did you really? He stops himself. I nod, polite. We're happy to quietly support when we can. He swallows. My niece was treated there, thank you. I don't look at my family. I can feel them looking at me. If you're watching this, your anger is probably burning hotter. Remember, people who demand your resume at dinner don't deserve your story. If you agree, tap the like. Drop a "not small" in the comments so I know you're here. Daniel leans in. The Bentley is staged for Mrs. Albright and her kids. Do you still want us to cover their next term tuition? Yes, I say, and finalize the 5 scholarships. His yes ma'am rolls out like we do this every week because, spoiler, we do. The room absorbs it. The story they wrote for me, the broke, stubborn daughter, does not fit the facts. That dissonance, it's loud. A reporter edges nearer, careful, as if I might spook. Maya Reed, Renewable Energy Initiative, $500 million into underserved communities. And I smile, apologetic. Not tonight. He nods, respectful. It's amazing how easy no becomes when you remember you're allowed to use it. Quick check, what I say? How many times have you swallowed your truth to keep the peace? Comment, too many if that's you. Now the best part. I turn to the staff, to the people who kept this place moving while my family staged a public execution of their daughter. James, I say to the manager, add a gratuity. He clears his throat. Yes, ma'am, 20% of your table, 20% of the restaurant's revenue tonight. I reply, steady. The room exhales. Workers look up. A dishwasher peeks out and grins. If that made you smile, share this clip. Not because of the money, because dignity is a currency too. At my table, the ripple becomes a whirlpool. Dad whispers, Maya, then stops, like the name is heavier now. Mom stands halfway and sits back down, torn between pride and the performance of disdain. Grant's calculating how to spin this. Sloane stares at me like I'm an alien wearing her sister's face. Do you feel the flip? Not the wealth, that's a detail. The power. The narrative control wrenched out of the hands that tried to write my ending. Sloane tries to recover first. So you, what, hired actors? The line is so juvenile it almost makes me laugh. No, I say, soft. I hired boundaries. Dad reaches for something like gentleness. We didn't know. I shrug, and you never asked. Mom exhales a tremor. We were worried about you. There it is, the lie good families tell when what they mean is, we were embarrassed by you. Daniel checks his watch. Traffic window's tight. I nod. Let's go home. The word home lands with intention, not the table that exiled me. The life I built. We step toward the door and the room opens, servers smile. A couple claps, quiet, supportive, like they recognize a woman walking out of a fire. If you're feeling that, hit subscribe. This channel is for anyone who has had to set themselves on fire to keep other people warm and finally said, no more. At the threshold, I turn once, just once, not to gloat, to witness, to name what happened. You said I was dead to you, I say even. You should know I've never felt more alive. Daniel opens the door, and the city's night air rushes in. The hum of rotors climbs nearby like a heartbeat that isn't afraid anymore. Smash cut to the roof, wind tugging my hair, lights of the skyline flickering like new synapses. I climb in, headset on. Ready when you are, the pilot says. I glance out at a city that tried to teach me smallness and whisper back, not small. Next stop, the life I refuse to apologize for. Stay, because the aftermath is where this gets real. The phone calls, the headlines, the apologies that sound like invoices. You want to know what I said? You want to know what I kept? What I cut? Keep watching. Morning hits like a subpoena. By 8 a.m., my assistant has a spreadsheet of missed calls long enough to scroll. Mom, 17 voicemails ranging from "you humiliated us" to "please call me back." Dad, measured emails with subject lines like "reconsider," "Grant, we need to coordinate messaging." Sloan, a text that says, "wow," just wow. The media? Camped on my parents' lawn. Headlines, "family disowns daughter, daughter turns out to be not small." Here's the part nobody tells you. Exposure feels like grief, even when it's liberation. I make coffee, I sit in silence, I reread an old note I wrote to myself. You don't owe anyone the performance of being less. If you needed that written down today, screenshot it. Share it with the version of you who still asks for permission to breathe. Dad finally gets through, voice stiff. Maya, the optics, I ask, of disowning your daughter in public or realizing she didn't need your approval to become herself. He exhales. We handled it poorly. No, I say that you handled it honestly. You told the truth about how you see me. Silence, then softer. Can we start over? I let that hang because starting over isn't a door you fling open, it's a contract. We can talk, I say, if you can be proud of me for who I am, not what I can offer your Christmas letter. He says, I'm ready to try. I decide to believe him halfway. Grant arrives in person, Daniel's team watching him the way bouncers watch a line skipper. He looks around my study, awards, frame covers, photos I never showed them because why would I? We didn't know, he says. I smile a little. Brother, I was telling you for a decade. You were busy loving the version of me that made sense for you. He swallows. The firm is asking questions. If you could make a statement. I hold up a hand. There it is, the favor. The invoice disguised as an apology. He sags. What do you want from us? I say nothing anymore, that's the point. Mom's voicemail number 18 arrives at midnight. Her voice sounds smaller than I've ever heard it. You blindsided me, she says. You humiliated me. Then, I'm scared I lost you. It hurts. Yes, I'm angry. Yes, I'm free. Yes, it still hurts. Pain and relief can coexist. Comment, I know if that sentence sits in your bones. By the weekend, the machine is purring again. My machine. Teams check in. Teachers send notes about the new tablets in their classrooms. A clinic shares early results from diagnostic software that flagged a heart condition in time to save a kid. That's what my little project does. And this is the part where I confess something. The success is not what healed me. The boundaries did. The decision that I will never again audition for a role in someone else's story. 6 months roll by. Not a miracle, not a fairy tale. A gradual, gritty renegotiation. Dad shows up to one of my talks, not to be seen, but to listen. He tears up, quietly, like men of his generation do. When I speak about building systems that outlast us, Mom volunteers at one of our education nonprofits. Not as a photo op, as a person sorting donated books, talking to parents, learning. She stumbles. She learns. She says one afternoon, I confused conformity with care. I nod. Me too, once. Grant starts pro bono work on tech ethics policy. He asks for input the way a grown-up asks, not entitled, not performative. Sloan invests in a fund that backs founders who were told they were too much. She texts me a screenshot. First female-led portfolio exit, coffee? I say yes. We meet. We talk about that night. She admits, I was jealous you didn't need applause. Shock line, right? But it's not a weapon now, it's a bridge. This is where I draw the line I won't cross. Access is not the same as intimacy. I set rules, no questions framed as accusations, no when are you going to anything, no harvesting my story for dinner party anecdotes. If that sounds harsh, remember, boundaries are the kindest thing we can give to relationships we want to save. Hit like if you've learned that the hard way. 1 year later, Mom introduces me at a gala. She takes the mic, breathes, and says, "This is my daughter, Maya, who taught me that success comes in many forms, and the most important is being true to yourself." There is no caveat, no shade, just a sentence shaped like respect. It doesn't erase the night at the Gilded Finch. It doesn't have to, it rewrites what comes after. So here's my ask, soft, direct, and only if this helped you. Like this so the algorithm knows there's a place for stories where women refuse to be small. Comment the line you're drawing this week. Share it with someone who needs permission to stop auditioning. And remember the part that matters. If they call you dead for choosing yourself, live louder. Here's where I land. I didn't win a fight. I ended a performance. I stopped begging a room that raised me to see me. I set the table somewhere else and learned to eat without apologizing. And still, on quiet nights, I replay the Gilded Finch, the chandelier hush, the sentence, dead to us. The tiny click in my chest, I ask myself, am I in the wrong for walking away instead of shrinking one more time, for choosing boundaries over belonging? What I learned is simple and ugly and beautiful. Love without respect is just control with better lighting. Family can be home or a story you outgrow. My job is to tell the truth, softly if I can, firmly if I must, and then live with the echo. I can hold grief in one hand and relief in the other and still clap for myself. If this hit something in you, do me a favor. Drop your take in the comments. What boundary are you drawing this week? If my story helped, tap like so it finds the next person who needs it. Share it with a friend who's still auditioning for love. And if you want more unpretty, honest endings that lead to better beginnings, subscribe. We'll figure this out together.